Welcome to Cannon Fodder. This is Brian Hedger here, Blue Jackets beat writer for the Columbus Dispatch. Usually when you heard those words, this is Welcome to Cannon Fodder, they were spoken by Michael A. Race, former Dispatch, longtime former Dispatch columnist and the original beat writer for the Columbus Blue Jackets going all the way back to the inception of the franchise. And usually, after you heard those words, you would hear me potentially sometimes come in and say something like, kaboom!
Boom!
Yeah, exactly. That's a good one.
Yeah, okay. That's good. That's better. Yeah, I'll work on my expressions.
Absolutely.
My reactive expressions.
So who you just heard right there is who I'm going to introduce here is Dan. I hope I say this right. It's Aulbach.
Yeah, Aulbach. I flip flop.
Okay.
Aulbach kind of sounds more like the European.
He's a Renaissance man, folks.
And that is true.
And I'm gonna let him have the floor here in a little bit, just to kind of give you a rundown about who he is, what he's all about, where he's come from. He's our latest rock star to come from the college ranks. Number one draft pick. We're gonna say he was a one overall from where was it? NBA or NBC? Sorry.
Yeah, NBC, NBA, same.
Same deal. He can cover it all, folks. He's our trending reporter. He's kind of, if you remember Colin Gay, he's kind of in that role. But also, we like to have those guys branch out and do other things. And we're gonna get Dan going on the Blue Jackets here. Like I think you grew up a Bruins fan, I believe.
Yeah. So thanks first off, Hedger. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's been really fun covering this team and
it's just Hedge.
Might be shocking.
It's Hedge or Hedgie.
Okay, Hedge.
That's my hockey nickname.
Well, Hedge.
We got to come up with a hockey nickname for you.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it?
Well, I will.
Yeah, we'll come up with it. I think on the fly.
Backy.
Yeah,
it'll be something like that.
A-back, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It's been a whirlwind of a few months. I had never been to Ohio since September was the first time I stepped foot in the state. I love it in Columbus. It's been really fun covering all these teams. That might be surprising to say, given the state of this team currently. However, I grew up a Blue Jackets fan. Honestly, wasn't that big into hockey until high school, I'd say, when I started watching more NHL playoffs. And the Bruins, obviously, they had some very good years. Lost in Game 7, which that was terrible. But I now get to really identify with the team, really the Blue Jackets. I feel more connected to covering this team just because I live here. I'm from New Hampshire. Kind of covered it all now, like you mentioned, breaking and trending stuff. And
you went to Marist? Yeah?
Went to Marist in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Nice.
I guess I'm kind of from a pretty big hockey realm, northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire.
Oh, that's hockey mecca right there.
Yeah, hockey mecca. Charlie Coyle, for example. I've been around hockey all my life.
Are you a South Side guy or a North Side guy?
I guess North. I mean, North Shore. I guess
North Shore. That's what it is. North Shore. You guys go shore.
Yeah, it's shore, whatever.
Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the Boston accent. Are you hiding it?
So people always tell me that like sometimes, but like I'm not like close enough to Boston to like actually get the accent. I feel like it's a very generic New England, just normal voice. But like for certain words,
you don't pack the cat.
I don't know haba,
all that stuff.
So it's just like a normal New England. I kind of wish I had the accent.
Yeah, absolutely. It brings some more flair. Flair to the podcast.
Yeah, but anyway, happy to be here. Happy to talk puck, and it's been fun learning from you and the other reporters there about this team. And we're gonna really dive into it today.
The goal, Dan. Backy, as we call you.
Backy. I like it.
I came up with a nickname for Bailey Johnson when she was here. I just call her Bales.
I like that.
Yeah, Bales. That was an easy one.
Yeah.
That was there on a tee. You're a little tougher. You're kind of like a Cam Atkinson. What do you really call him? But we'll figure one out for you that fits, and I'll go with it. But the goal, obviously, since Mike left and took a buyout, and a hard-earned buyout by that. To start his own venture. I haven't. I've tried to think about this podcast. This podcast has been around for a very long time, and I've thought like, how am I going to keep this thing going?
Yeah.
I could have done it all by myself, but I was just kind of waiting for maybe the right time, and inspiration sort of struck. Actually, recently when I've seen some of your stuff, just video stuff, and I thought, this is a guy I can work with. I think.
Really? That's like the biggest compliment I've gotten here.
For sure. And I think that. I know that we're going to get you going on hockey. Yeah. You're a very knowledgeable sports fan, and I know that you're gonna really make some great contributions to this podcast. Help me out here, and we are going to talk Blue Jackets, get in depth with it here pretty soon. One of the things I want to do here to start off is, this has been a frustrating season for the Blue Jackets, and it's just over the halfway point.
That's a good way to put it.
Here on Wednesday, January 7th, in the year of our hockey god, 2026, they just lost another game last night, at which I stayed up to watch from home and write about. Didn't blow a third period lead in this one, which has been their MO this year. Didn't even have the lead at all last night, but they were in the game. They're usually in these games, and they find ways to lose. And that has been the biggest issue for this team so far. But before I get into all that, I wanted to just kind of say, look, I've been gone for 3 weeks.
Yep.
You've been on the beat for me, which I really appreciate. And I'm gonna have you kind of talk a little bit here about some of the things you saw. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that in those 3 weeks, it's arguably been the busiest news weeks in the entire season. I mean, like Mason Marchment trade, right? And then as soon as they made that trade, I was like, okay, that was for picks. That means they're going to trade Igor Chinnikov to get those picks back.
I could probably pull up the text where you go, look out for a Chinnikov trade. And I'm talking to our assistant sports editor, Lori, the morning of that trade. And she was like, hey, just be on the lookout for a Chinnikov trade. And hours, like maybe 3 hours later, it happened. It's been busy. And that's just Murphy's Law for you, deciding to go on a well-deserved vacation.
To Europe.
Yeah, to Europe, which we'll get into.
Yes.
But yeah, I think like 2 days after you left, the Marchment trade happens. It was 1 a.m. I was in Buffalo, New York, visiting my aunt, and I'm about to go to bed, and I look and I see the National Insiders have their report, and I'm like, wow.
Gotta go with it.
Yeah, it's go time. This has been a very polarizing 3 weeks for the Blue Jackets. They've been up and down. Last night they won the battle, but they lost the war. Matthew Olivier, huge fight.
Yep.
But I think we'll get into it. There is a clear lack of late push and physicality from this team, and you feel like it should be there. But for example, like the Penguins game from the other night, which we talked about, 3 months ago.
Another gut punch from Sidney Crosby delivered to the entire city of Columbus, but go ahead.
Crazy enough, was not playing that great the first 2 periods.
Of course.
It was almost invisible. And then, in the second period, it was 4-1. And the Penguins scored, they make it 4-2 late in the second period, and there was just an energy in the room, in the arena. There was a lot of Penguins fans there, obviously, and you just felt it, that this was a game they were gonna drop in some way, and they did. And it's a multitude of things. I think this is something we've talked about a lot. It's physicality, and it's just the roster is not built for that. And that's what I've been seeing, and the reason why they can start early, be really strong, and then lose it. So.
Yeah. Well, I've been around on this beat obviously a lot longer, and I've seen that movie play out a lot. So I think one of the big differences between a team like Pittsburgh and Columbus, because Pittsburgh's not that much better than them, to be honest with you. They are in the standings, or they're in the first or second wild card right now the East, but they're only like 6 points better. And if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I'd say that I wouldn't feel comfortable saying that they're going to make the playoffs. Yep. I don't think they're very good. They're okay. They're better than they were last year. They're better than they were the year before. But what they have, and it's so easy. Well, they have Sidney Crosby, but like you mentioned, he wasn't even playing that well in that game. I watched that game. He wasn't even playing that well. But whenever he's on the ice and there's a game like that and things are starting to tumble against the Blue Jackets, you just know, you're like, he's going to score the winning goal, or he's going to set up somebody to score the winning goal.
He created the game time goal.
Of course. And because he's a winner. No. And like the Jackets have Zach Werenski, who's a winner, and they have a few other guys, but they need more guys. And it's not just Crosby. Like Malkin, I think, was out for that game. Yeah, he was injured. But they have Malkin when he's healthy. He's another one. You look at it and go, well, it's probably gonna be Malkin or Crosby or Letang. Yeah. Like the guys who've been there forever, you just feel like they're just gonna come up with a play. And the Blue Jackets are lacking those kind of guys right now with the kind of confidence it takes.
Yeah.
It goes both ways. So if they're leading, they need to have the confidence to say, I don't care if you scored a goal and made it 4-2. Yeah. We're still up by 2, and we're going to finish this thing off, and we're going to win. They don't have that killer instinct right now. This whole season, really. I think it's 12 blown third period leads. You're going to blow some leads in the NHL. It's going to happen, but a number of those, and I still keep meaning to look the actual number up, and I will eventually. But a lot of those third period leads that were blown were multiple goal leads. That's inexcusable. It's inexcusable Well, I mean, I can when I look at the list of games through the season, I can look at each one. A lot of the Pittsburgh alone, they have blown 3 2-goal leads in all 3 games in the third period of all 3 games against the Penguins, and they ended up winning the first one in a shootout. But when you do that, you're allowing a division opponent who you say is a rival to get a point. And it's inexcusable, and they need to figure this out. So on the one hand, it's like, okay, at least they have the lead.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, if you're looking for positives, that's good. But we said that 2 years ago when Pascal Vincent was here as the head coach. And one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the big reasons he was let go after just 1 year was they could not finish off games that they led late. Yeah. They had a problem with, I think it was 16 or 17 blown third period leads in that season that could have been a lot different for them. So anyway, what else what have you got here?
I just, something that one of the first games I covered when you were, traveling Italy and Switzerland and all that, the Wild game. This was, I think, the 18th. And something they lost. Werenski scored twice. It's like one of those stats where, like, in baseball, where Shohei Ohtani hits 4 home runs and the Dodgers lose 10-0. Or when he was on the Angels, they did that all the time. Similar.
Did they ever really lose though?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no. But Werenski scores twice. He actually scored twice in back-to-back games. First time he'd ever done that, which I thought was crazy.
He's having another crazy
goals
season
in back-to-back games. Yeah, crazy.
He really is. Yeah,
unbelievable. And we'll get into that. I think he leads the team in goals right now. He's 16. Marchenko is 15. I think Voronkov too. But Evason after the game, this quote resonates. He said, "We can't allow people to just skate freely to the net. We have to be a little harder and tougher and greasier in those areas and firmer." And in that Penguins game, in the third period, the puck was just anchored in the Blue Jackets defensive zone. They could not, and it's not just...
They were ducks in a shooting gallery.
Yeah. It was, Jet got peppered. He got peppered with shots. It was hard to watch. And you just
because he can only stop so many. Right. I mean, to be honest with you, the greatest goaltenders of all time. I keep telling people this. Nobody wants to hear this. This used to be the case with Elvis. When he was Elvis is obviously struggling mightily again this year. But back in the days when he was making a lot of saves and everything, people would rip on him for certain goals they'll allow and everything. I'm like, did you see how many scoring chances the poor guy faced? I mean, you could put Carey Price at his best. Right. And if the defense in front of him is just going to let him turn it into a shooting gallery, and he's the duck, he's going to give up some goals, and that's what Jet Greaves has been fantastic.
Jet had
in this
38
stretch.
saves
Against
the Penguins and 43 shots.
He was amazing last night as well against the Sharks. But you just knew, you're like, okay, they had a couple breakdowns where they basically just let them have a breakaway, and you can't let NHL players have breakaways.
Yeah.
Although the Blue Jackets seem to struggle on theirs, scoring them, but that's another point. But anyway, go ahead to your point.
Quickly on Jet. Since the LA Kings win, he has a .928 save percentage. He's last 5 games, 31 saves on 34 shots against the Sharks. 38 saves on 43 shots against the Penguins. 32 saves on 33 shots against the Sabres. 30 saves on 33 shots against the Devils. 27 saves on 28 shots against Ottawa. That's ridiculous.
And how many wins did he get in that?
Let's see. So Sharks loss.
Yep.
Penguins loss. Sabres win. Devils loss. Ottawa win. So
they're wasting these performances from him. I mean, it's uncanny. We could sit here and say it, and this is a hard thing to do, is come up with context, right? Yeah. I really would like to be like, okay, well, how many are they the worst in the league at this? It feels like they are. It feels like, because they have more, but it's like a two-sided coin where the one side is, they're probably one of the best in the league at getting leads.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you really look at it, but then they can't hold them. So they got to figure this out at some point, 'cause if they don't, very bad things are going to happen. Yeah. They came into this season, I think rightly so, after finishing 2 points out of the playoffs last year, with the goal of making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And as we talk right now, I think they're at 43 points.
Yep.
They have 8 teams to catch to try and get the second wild card. Now, the good news, if there is any, is I think it's like a 6-point differential. Yep. But that's great. 6 points. If you get on a heater, you run off 10 points in a row, or 10 wins, or whatever it is. Great, you're back in the race, but you still have all those teams to catch, and you have to it's just like in baseball. When I covered baseball, the big saying was always you don't win the World Series in April or May, but you can lose it.
Yeah.
Because if you fall too far behind, you're never catching up. Yeah. Because one of those 8 teams that the Jackets are now trailing, because they're dead last in the East, 1 or 2 or 3 of those teams are also going to get hot when you get hot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the other ones might fall back a little bit. It's just this ongoing game where you're always trying to claw back what you've already lost. Yeah. And it's incredibly hard. It's not impossible. I'm not saying that they're completely done, but if you look at it realistically right now, and I wrote about this in my takeaways today. Basically, I looked at the interviews that they did out in San Jose, and their interviews have been interesting recently. I'm sure that you noticed this as well. They've had over these games that they've had leads go away and everything. They've gone from anger. They've had anger about it. Frustration, more anger, more frustration, whatever. It was kind of going back and forth in those. They sound like a defeated team right now. And it's hard to blame them, because it's a human reaction. I mean, it's almost like one of those things how are we ever going to dig out of this thing? I mean, I think reality is starting to set in a little bit. There are 40 games left. So that's, there you go. That's 80 points that are out there, but you're not going to win all 40. And at this point, you have to really, they need to go on a heater real fast, or else this season's going to get away from them in a hurry. And by the trade deadline, Don Waddell's going to be trading a bunch of people away.
Yeah.
If they don't, put a skate in the ice, as you say, and kind of push the other way. So
it's interesting. You said interviews.
Right.
And how they're admitting that, reality's setting in. And you can't get a better perspective on that than Z's interviews.
Yeah.
Z gets interviewed every game.
He's fantastic.
And every game he gets asked about third period. I mean, every game I have been to, it's the same thing. Even wins, even when they protected a pretty steady lead against the Sabres. That was a great win. In a weird stretch of recent games. But, he was asked
Right,
about.
they'll just pop one of those out,
Yeah.
out of the blue, and you'll be like, I mean, going into that one, you had to think the Sabres were on a roll.
Yeah.
They'd won 10 in a row,
Which is wild.
and they were just steamrolling people, and you think like, oh, they're just gonna. And it's Yarmo coming back with Josh Flynn, and if you were to look at that, you'd be like, man, they're just gonna steamroll the Blue Jackets. This is gonna be it. And the Jackets just go out and do the opposite. I mean, that's hockey for you. But yeah, that makes it even more frustrating, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so Z gets asked about the third period every game, and when they lost to the Wild in that game, when again they lost the lead in the third period, this quote he went on it. He's pretty steady. He's a pretty steady, calm guy, and from the interviews that I've been a part of. He went, I mean, enough is enough. It's unacceptable. At the end of the day, this is getting outrageous. I mean, we're a good hockey team. We're just losing games. So maybe we're not a good hockey team. I don't know. That is so telling of his. And you know what happened 2 days later? They trade for Marchment.
Yeah.
So maybe, maybe he is pushing buttons, behind the scenes and really asking for, hey, we have to be aggressive. We have pieces. Like you said, the goal is to make the playoffs this year.
Yep.
There's in dead last. You can't make the playoffs as a sitting duck. And this Marchment trade, which we'll get into, it gave him a boost. Marchman's been playing fantastic hockey. But that boost is gone. It feels gone.
Yep.
And they've kind of settled back into, maybe I don't think this is an overreaction at all. I think they've settled back into, same old mediocrity.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that kind of plays into, like I said, they sound like a defeated team.
Yeah.
It's the anger about, like they should have been really mad about last night as well. Mm-hmm. That's one that got away. They had a decent start. Then they went away for about 30 minutes and they were awful. And the Sharks dominated, but Jet held them in. Werenski gets that big goal. Of course, it's Werenski, cuts it to 2-1. Olivier, we're going to get into this, as you mentioned earlier. He immediately challenges Ryan Reeves, who's one of the toughest guys in hockey for like the last 15, 16 years. And then wins the fight. I mean, it was a vicious, violent, kind of short, but also like they were throwing haymakers at each other. Yeah.
It was like the end of a Ali Frazier fight. Just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. This one wasn't going the distance.
No.
They were just. It was like the old Tyson fights. They were just trying to although Tyson was the only one punching.
I think that's a better comparison. It was like the first round of a Tyson fight, but the other guy was also Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly. It was like Mike Tyson versus Mike Tyson. That's exactly right. Yeah, it was crazy. And Olivier gets the better of him. And Jody Shelley, the TV analyst, made a great point because he's a former enforcer himself. That Ryan Reeves is one of the few people left in the league who doesn't wear a visor. Yeah. And Olivier does. And so there was like no formal agreement like, hey, will you take your helmet off? I'll take mine off or whatever. His helmet comes off in the fight. And Olivier's, I mean, you can't blame Olivier. No. You're in a fight. You're taking punches too. Yeah. But he caught him clean with a couple and it looked like he knocked him out. And actually, there's a lot of respect there between the two of them, and they were talking about it in the penalty box after Reeves returned to the thing. But you get a goal from Werenski. Yeah. The ensuing face-off, the guy who has become the toughest heavyweight fighter, enforcer, power forward in the league, which was Matthew Olivier, wins his fight. And gets the bench going, and you think, okay, maybe this is how they're going to save this one. They come out in the third, and they outshoot the Sharks 18-9, and lose 5-2. And that's a misleading score because there was 2 empty net goals, but it's just like seems like whatever can go wrong is going wrong for them.
I know
at a certain time. So. Last night, in fact, Werenski was Werenski. There was Fantilli, trying to Matejchuk. Yeah. There's a couple of guys who made some really tough plays that led to those breakaways. And Zach actually owned it when he spoke after the game. It was the third goal. It's 2-1. He's just trying to make a play, and he's got the puck in the left face-off circle. He's got nothing in front of him. I originally watched in live speed. I'm like, just shoot the puck. And when I went back and watched it on replay, he had nothing. Like there was nothing to shoot at. But he did see out of the corner of his eye on the other side of the ice, Denton Matejchuk open for a potential one-timer. Yeah. Tries to throw the puck through what they call the Royal Road, cross seam, and it eludes him. Of course it does. Hits the wall. It bounces all the way back down to the Blue Jackets' end, and then Matejchuk and Cole Sillinger just get outraced. They get outraced by, I can't pronounce the kid's name, Zach Ostapchuk.
Yeah,
I think it's something like that.
It's close enough.
I mean, that dude just hit the turbo boost, and he was just gone before him. And he goes in and basically unfettered and just beats Jack Reeves with a great move. That makes it 3-1, and it's late. And now Sean Monahan, who played his first game in 4, he scores on the next shift and cuts it to 3-2. So you're like, okay, here we go again. Energy, and then they pull the goalie. What it really was, when you look at this, has happened to them a number of times this year, where the tables have been flipped and the other team has the lead. Yeah. And in those scenarios, the Blue Jackets are blowing leads, and it's going to overtime and shootouts, or they're losing. When it happens to them, they lose. Yeah. Most of the time. Yeah. Because other teams are showing them this is how you do it. Yeah.
It's interesting because when they lost the other night to the Penguins, it was the conversations in the locker room were all about the energy. Right. And how Dean kind of talked about both physical and mental energy. For example, again, just real quick, Dean mentioned that when Crosby set up that goal to tie it, the shift was extended.
Right.
And that's physical, right? But also the mental energy clearly wasn't there. They clearly, like Z talked about it, they were just, guys weren't cheering, they were getting back in the, they had a 4-1 lead. And in this game, you get that boost of energy from the fight, and it seemingly worked for a little bit. And like you said, other teams are showing them how it's done, how you, even in the middle of a game, when the energy completely flips, the momentum feels
something
like
goes wrong for you, but you still have the lead.
Feels like it's going to shift. And the Sharks they just outpaced them. Like you said, they skated north to south better, especially on that play. And it was hard to watch. It's hard to watch when teams are doing the right thing that you should be replicating, that you can replicate. And it's just a mental failure.
Yeah, one of the toughest things here for the Jackets is that when you go through an extended period like this and it keeps happening over and over and over again, it's human nature. Yeah. It's going to get into your psyche. It's going to get into your DNA. And I think that's what the problem is right now. Part of their DNA is that when they get a lead, and I guarantee they would never admit to it, but they play like it. You know how when your grandma used to say actions speak louder than words? Well, actions speak louder than words when they're out there playing. They look like a nervous team when they get up by 2 goals. It's unreal. And you look at the Sharks last night, they give up that goal by Monahan. If that's the Jackets, it immediately the Sharks would have been all over them. It would have become a shooting gallery again on Greaves, and it would have been tied within 5 minutes. Yeah. With the Jackets, what happened was basically what happens when most teams have a lead. You know what I mean? The Sharks didn't look nervous at all. No. They gave up the goal, and they're like, all right, well, they're going to have to pull the goalie here in a couple, because if we can keep this thing, and we will, and then we'll just score. And they scored 2 empty net goals.
You know what? This is something you mentioned to me a lot. And this is an excuse. This is not an excuse, but injuries have riddled this team. And they've also created a lack of identity for the middle lines especially. I mean, look how much movement there's been between second, third, fourth lines.
Oh, yeah, especially since you've been kind of tracking this thing. Before, this is all your fault, Dan.
I just wanted to shake things up.
Before I left, they had set lines for the most part. Well, part of that is also you bring in Marchment. Right. But it's not just that. It's injuries, too, which is what I wanted to get to as well. I mean, they lose. This is so Blue Jacket. They lose Isaac Lundestrom in practice when he hits a rut in the ice and it like twists his knee or something. So he's out week to week. He doesn't give you a whole lot of offense, if any, as far as actual goal production. But he's a really good defensive player, and he can win faceoffs.
Stability.
Yes, he's a stable guy in that fourth line. He's out. Miles Wood, before his injury, and that was a disgusting-looking injury. Like, when you saw it on replay, it was like, oh, boy, I hope it's not as bad as it looks. One of those. His ankle, I think, or knee or something bent very awkwardly. But before that happened, he was a productive depth player for this team. Like, he was really a find that Don Waddell acquired along with Charlie Coyle, who you mentioned earlier, in the offseason in one trade. Those guys have been, if it wasn't for those guys, this team would be way farther off the pace than they really are right now. I mean, Coyle and Wood really carried this team for a while in the first quarter of the season or so. And Coyle is he's been a solid player. He's always been a solid player.
Yeah.
But Wood's out. Lundstrom's out. Last night, Marchment didn't play either. That was the first time he hasn't played since the trade. I think it was December 19th was the trade.
Yeah.
And then also yesterday, January 6th, before they played the Sharks, they signed a 25-year-old defenseman, Igor Zamula. Originally, he was a undrafted free agent who signed with the Philadelphia Flyers and fell out of favor there, refused to go to the AHL, got traded to the Penguins, who then also tried to send him to the AHL, and he declined and did not show up, did not report to his AHL assignment, which prompted the Penguins to put him on first suspend him, and then put him on waivers for the purpose of buying out his contract, because it's like, okay, dude, like, if you're not going to do that, see you later. And the Jackets, but they weren't the only team. Jackets weren't the only team interested in him, but they sign him 1 year, $1 million for the rest of the year. This shows how tough it is for them with depth defense right now, because they've had Dyson Mayo up, and Dyson Mayo he's a journeyman. I mean, it's not intended to be a slam. It just kind of is what it is. He hadn't played in 2 years in the NHL since coming into the season. I think he's got 2 games. Clearly, they don't think he's the answer at this point. Jake Christensen has been playing some, obviously third pairing. They don't seem to be big fans of Jake Christensen on this coaching staff right now.
No, not
they don't
at all.
play him a whole lot. And so when you go, and then Brendan Smith had been there. So it had been Brendan Smith, a veteran, who came to camp on a professional tryout offer and basically played for the Monsters just to try and keep his career going. Yeah. He was playing a lot of minutes. He was playing pretty much every night. He got hurt. So, and he was playing with Fabro in the third pairing. And the reason Fabro's down in the third pairing on the right side is because Eric Branson has only played 4 games this season because of a hip issue, that we don't really know if or when he's going to be able to come back from it this season. I mean, we hope that he comes back shortly, but we'll see. He's missed all but 4 games. So, boom, boom, boom. That's 3 veteran defensemen, or 2 veteran defensemen plus Christensen and Mayo, who they either don't feel comfortable with as far as they haven't earned the trust, or they're out. Yeah. So that's how Zamula gets here. Yeah. And, and what I mean, so it'll be interesting to see. He's already cleared waivers. He actually cleared waivers, I think, twice. Because once for the contract buyout, and before that, I think, with the Flyers. So what that means is the Jackets don't have to put him on waivers again if they want to assign him to the AHL. I don't think that's going to happen, because for 2 other teams, he's like, no, I'm not going to the AHL. You know what I mean? So, and they have a need for defensemen. So he is joining the team today, January 7th, out in California. Or I think they're in Vegas right now. But he's going to join the team there. My guess is that he's going to step right into that third pairing with Fabro. and we'll see how it goes. On the 8th, January 8th, against the Vegas Golden Knights.
And then you touch on that's just defensive pairings, and then there's so much shifting in the offense.
Because the guys I mentioned who are out.
Right.
I mean, it's like kind of crazy.
I mean, last night the first line was Jenner, Fantilli, Marchenko, and
it got switched up. Voronkov goes back up with Marchenko and Monahan. I think they put all three of them back.
Wild. And the line the line of Marchment, it's been Marchment, Fantilli, Marchenko for the most part in the first line when Marchment was playing.
Since Marchment came here to the team.
I adore that line. I think they
play well together.
When that line is playing healthy, they skate fast. That's how they got out to those really early leads.
Yep.
And obviously Matejchuk and Z together with that first line, when that line and that pairing is in the offensive zone all together, they are so good at shot creating.
Yeah.
And
hanging on to pucks.
Yeah. The problem is getting there, right?
Yes, right.
And the forechecking, I'd like to see like Marchenko, for example, someone that's like a puck hound, just be a little more, just a little bit. Anyway, second line has been all over the place. Obviously, with Monahan leaving, we've seen Jenner there a certain period of time. And then that third line stability was really for a while when I was covering was Jenner, Silly, and Coyle.
Yes.
And I think that line too, again, just pretty solid.
Much anybody who plays with Coyle is going to be pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the former Bruin, but just a real skilled player, and again, someone that can somehow start this offense,
right?
And get out of it and skate fast north to south.
They need consistency.
Yeah. And that's been the problem. And then again, you get to that fourth line, which yesterday was Aston Reese, Gonson, Heinen, and it's like, what are we doing? Heinen was playing second line, at post trade.
Oh, right, because without Marchment, they moved Johnson up.
Yeah.
And, we could do an entire, maybe we will. Maybe the next podcast will be, and I kind of brought this up to begin the season.
Yeah.
Development and progress with young players is so very rarely linear in the NHL. And it's the way it is in almost all professional sports, but especially hockey. And last year, if you looked at it, pretty much every one of their young players got better than they were the year before.
Yeah.
They had better production. And when you looked at this season, you're like, can they do that again? Is it going to be a struggle even to meet those standards, let alone exceed them? I mean, that was the goal, is for them to exceed them. I mean, Kent Johnson has like 11 points in 42 games or something. Yeah. That's shocking to me.
It's surprising.
And, Fantilli's having a good season, but like the way he finished last season, you thought for sure it was going to be like, whoa. You thought he was going to be in this season, kind of like Leo Carlson is, same age, same draft, for the Ducks, and it's not happening. They're different players, so they have different styles. We're gonna we'll save that for another pod.
We can get all into the.
And I want to get, I definitely want to get into kind of actually dissecting what could have gone better in the first half of this season, other than just protect leads.
I think that will be important too. That's an important conversation when the trade deadline comes up.
Yes.
What could have been done? The one thing I will give Don credit is moves have been made. They maybe have been one of the most active team.
They're slugging it
on
out.
The market. They've been, again, the defenseman pickup. They've made a couple trades in December. I think we'll see closer to the trade deadline. Did it pay off or not?
Well, like I said, if they go on a heater and they get back in this thing, potentially you could see him make more trades to try and help this season. But the more realistic view of it is, the trade deadline, there might be trades out for more assets. We'll see.
Since you were out a good period of time when Marchment came up, what have you seen from him that has elevated? Because it's just a different type of player that they didn't previously have.
Yeah. Well, so I was really happy when they made that trade because Marchment is a guy that I think it was 2 years ago when he was with the Panthers, maybe been 2 or 3 years ago. He was with the Panthers. I wasn't really paying much attention to Mason Marchment,
Yeah.
And the Panthers come stomping into the Nationwide Arena, and Marchment just I mean, they blew out the Blue Jackets, and Marchman had like a hat trick and like 4 points, I think. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, where do they keep finding these guys?
Yeah.
And then the next year he goes to Dallas, right? And every time the Blue Jackets seem to play this guy, he's just carving them up.
Yeah.
You know? And then there's certain guys on every team, it feels like there's like that. Coyle was another one. He always scored like key goals against the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
Miles Wood was another one, right? They have 3 guys now who I used to identify as like Blue Jackets killers who play for them now.
Crazy.
And he comes in, and the way he came in, it's been fantastic. So, yeah, that's been a great ad. Woods has been a great ad. Coyle's been a great ad. Coyle has never missed the playoffs, by the way. This guy is very determined to try and get this team or help this. Yeah, well, that may be the one. But there is 40 games left. So, anyway, we're going to wrap this up. I know we're going a little longer than what we planned.
Yeah.
I'm getting the signal. Yes. Like I'm getting the signal from the Podfather to wrap this thing up.
This is what happens when you abandon the country. And
that's true.
And again, they literally were calling for you back by doing literally everything possible: trades, wins, overtime losses, overtime wins.
I was actually texting with Don Waddell on a high-speed train back from Rome when the Chinnikov trade happened. It was crazy. So anyway, all right, we're going to cut it off there for this episode, the first episode of Backy and Hedge.
Backy and Hedge. I like it.
Backy and Hedge on the Cannon Fodder podcast. We're keeping this thing going. We're going to get her back on the rails here and hopefully do this more regularly. I know you're a busy guy. You got football. You got all kinds of stuff to worry about. But if you could keep paying attention to these Blue Jackets, I would love to talk hockey with you the rest of the season, buddy.
Look, Ohio State's done. This is the team to follow, and it's an interesting narrative. And I think this next month is going to be really interesting, and I think we'll see a lot of movement towards the deadline and what this team will become, because something has to give. You know, whether it's positive or negative, something's got to give. We'll see.
Yep, there he is, folks. That's our number 1 draft pick, number 1 overall, Dan Aulbach, Backy, and this is Hedge, Brian Hedger. I'm going to be signing off here, and we'll catch you next time.
Take care.